About last night, four characters mainly: Danny, Debbie, Bernie, Joanne. Bernie is Kevin Hart. For the others, I'm sorry, I'm not so familiar. I mean, I've seen them before in some movies, but I'm not so familiar with their past performances. And anyway, to be mean, I'm not so impressed. So why bother? It's good that you're not watching this, so to say. I mean, few, if any, do. And so I don't run the risk of having a backlash and having many in a large audience say, well, why do you criticize this? It's a comedy with African American actors, so are you racist? No. I love because it comes to mind what I see in, for instance, in Bill Maher, the critique addressed to those who say, I'm not a racist, but when you say that, you're a racist. And I'm not going to say that because I know of this habit of those people, but just because if there were any other actors doing this, I would still be quite unimpressed. And yes, Kevin Hart has a charm. I'm not sure about the others. And and surely there is a flaw here, not in the comedy. And the flaw is probably that I'm conservative. I am not of the age of the protagonists in the movie, and therefore I don't get much of the humor. And I'm not a prudish individual. I mean, on the contrary, I've been quite perverse, so to say, in my life. But for those who were before my generation, for those who are now, I don't know. There's, as they were saying in a movie recently, gay, straight, heterosexual, pansexual. They didn't say pansexual, but I'm adding this because I've read about that. Sapiosexual. It doesn't know. It's not. Everything is in a flux now. It's not. I mean, it's at the point where things take a different turn. They have different definitions to tolerance, intolerance for some things. So in that, I don't know. I probably am too rigid, and then for my taste, it is too concentrated on sex. For instance, to begin with, Kevin Hart's character, Bernie, talks to Danny about the woman last night, okay? And the fact that they met, they had drinks, he got too much to drink, yes, and then alcohol has this effect. He couldn't have an erection, but then it turned out to be of a certain with a certain benefit that I don't have his words, I'm not going to quote, but I think basically he says she took care of it for 20 minutes and then it felt so good. He felt this little one or big one, however you want to have it. Wake up, and it was wonderful after this considerate attention and concentration on it. She's telling the same story. That's Joan, quite a wild woman character. That's interesting. That's to be admired. That she's. But then at one point, for different standards, she's too rude. And they almost all are. Danny and Debbie, they're a different story. Yes, their relationship seems to be, if not the role model of friendships, of amitié, of bonds. There is much more there because they're tender, they're considerate, polite. he doesn't want a puppy, but then he takes it. He's left with a puppy after she's moving out. So, but Joan and her partner are in a different league for my taste. So it's a question of taste, of course. I mean, this is not an absolute judgment. I don't have the perfect balance and the proper mind and understanding to social, emotional intelligence and all the rest to evaluate accurately. There's no one. In fact, the comedy has a 75 or so Metascore average rating, which means that more of the important critics felt this is good. Austin Chronicle, a newspaper that I tended to watch for to see what they say there about the movie. I didn't know, to see if it's worthwhile. Said something like the funniest comedy in a long time, funniest romantic comedy in a long time. Maybe it is. So, one relationship is fine, but not that comical. The other, in opposition, to me, it feels like it's not amusing. They try and have this fight, they come at the party and then they're vicious with each other, and we're supposed to see it as funny, and maybe it is, but I didn't see it that way. I see it as offensive and rather I don't know if contemptible is the word, but not something to watch. And then something also I didn't like, Debbie is throwing the food out of the window. What is that? What is that? In an age when we talk about waste, and by the way, I would suggest to those who produce movies to take care and do it with consideration for the environment. Too many explosions, too many cars burned down, too much food wasted, thrown, and they should use special effects for all these things. Don't waste anything. Okay? I know you're listening, watching. So there you go, take this and make it a rule.